Hello everybody and welcome to Skylanders Starter Packs Explained and Ranked, where I'm going to have a look at the main starter pack, not including the variants, for the main 6 games and explaining the characters and then ranking them. Please do remember that this is my opinion and yours will most likely vary, so please be considerate of that in the comments, and without further ado, let's get into it.
All fired up.
Starting things off with the Spyro's Adventure Starter Pack, I think Spyro is a great mascot to lead because he's a well-rounded character. He's got good attacks, especially his primary. His secondary is a bit weak, I will admit, with like the hair ramp. It doesn't really do a lot, but it gives you just a bit of diversity in your playstyle. Obviously the third attack being a flying move does kind of throw away a slot, which could be used for something else, but then again obviously you have to keep in mind this is for Spyro's Adventure, this is when loads of characters had flying moves and stuff like that, and at this point in time there was no intention for them to have jumping, so it makes sense why they would have a flying move. But Spyro overall does a decent amount of damage for what he is. He's simple to use, quick to get the hang of. Like, this is my first time playing Spyro in a very long time, and I was able to figure out what I was doing relatively quickly. It's essentially just smash the primary attack, which is most characters in this game, especially in the early 2 games like Spyro's Adventure and Giant. Now, as for Trigger Happy, I will admit I actually did lose the footage of me playing Trigger Happy. I don't know where it went. But he's essentially the same story, just spam your primary, unless you're on the coin flip path, in which case spam the hell out of that instead. But other than that, it's just spam the 2 buttons again. And now onto Gil Grunt. I didn't really play him much, to be honest, when I first started Skylanders. As you can see, mine from 13-bit years ago is still on level 17, I never even maxed him out. So I'm not a huge Gil Grunt fan, I think it's safe to say. But he's definitely more unique than the other 2, than both Spyro and Trigger Happy, I think. You know, his playstyle is definitely different. It's not just to mash one button, especially if you're on, I believe, the other path, the one that I was using. I seem to believe the playstyle does vary quite a bit when you've got like the extra water and doesn't run out all the time. But overall, he's actually not bad, and I really do need to play Gil Grunt more. But as you can see, there's a tiny bit of a skill issue in the footage, so Gil Grunt did not last very long. But he's a strong character, and I think that he definitely carries the Spyro's Adventure starter pack quite a bit. But the other 2 are also good figures, an all-round, well-rounded starter pack. And as for Spyro's Adventure, I'd say all around it is quite evenly mixed, and I think, to be fair, it is probably one of the better ones. So I'm leaning towards top 3 already. Is it the best? No. Is it the second best? Quite possibly, because you get 3 figures that are all well balanced. They differ from one another enough to make it worthwhile and fun, and they're all so iconic. And I feel like that's part of the thing that we need to consider here, because it's a starter pack after all. It needs to be recognisable. So I'm putting Spyro's Adventure in second place. Now that is crazy generous from me, because to be completely honest with you, I don't even think that Spyro's Adventure is that good of a Skylanders game. I think all the Skylanders games are good games, but I think Spyro's Adventure is definitely one of, if not the worst of all of them. And so, but like, it's just too iconic, I couldn't not do that. But what I'm not going to spare the same way is Giants. Now I will admit T-Rex is good, he's on the better end of the Giants that actually are available to play, so it's good that you get him in the starter pack. And he's got a fairly unique set of moves as well, with like the running, the lasers, and the fist. The trouble is that he's still a giant, and the Giants just overall just weren't that good, like, at all really. So I think, yes, he's good for being a giant, but he's still not a good character. But then the Giants starter pack then goes to rub it in your face and throw in Cinder and Jetpack, who in my opinion are 2 terrible characters. I know Cinder can be good in the right hands. The right hands are not me, so I do not enjoy playing Cinder. And as for Jetpack, I feel like it's probably the same thing, but then again, I don't think I've ever met anyone who likes Jetpack, so maybe not. And then as for Giants on their ranking, I think it's pretty clear after that bombshell of what I described it as, that this starter pack was definitely not my favourite. But what might seem a surprise to some of you is that it's not my least favourite starter pack either. But we'll get to that later. Moving on to Swap Force. I think Washbuckler is an incredibly strong start for the Swap Force starter pack. And I'm not being biased because Swap Force is my favourite game. I genuinely think Washbuckler is a good character. Both the top and bottom half are viable in a lot of different combos. Not to mention, he's iconic, and he just, like, he fits the game, especially for Swap Force and its art style. I feel like he's a good match. However, it's not all good news for the Swap Force starter pack, because the other swapper that they have is Blast Zone. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Blast Zone is good, but I feel like, unlike Washbuckler, I feel like he's not as viable. The bombs feel weak and a bit clunky to use, and I also feel like the bottom half is only useful in select scenarios, such as when you're using the exploit and speedrunning. Other than that, I feel like it's really not that good. Also, not to mention as well, I feel like there's so many better swappers. I don't think that Washbuckler is my favourite of the swappers either, but Blast Zone is definitely not among my favourites. But then again, Blast Zone doesn't bring it down for long, because Swap Force also has a Stealth Elf in the starter pack, and Stealth Elf is one of the strongest characters throughout the franchise. I strongly believe that Stealth Elf is like one of, if not the best, like, and most consistent character throughout the entire series of games. She's just got a good set of attacks, and she's viable in a lot of different situations, although there is some situations where she is completely useless, I will admit. So I think this definitely brings up the Swap Force pack quite a bit. Does it put it in first place? Let's head over to the rankings and find out. Okay. Skylanders Swap Force. Where is it gonna go? I think probably third. Yeah, that sounds fair to me. Okay, half the roster eliminated and half to go. We are down to our last 3 games. Kicking off with Trap Team. This one is going to be a bit of a hot take, I think. Snapshot is mediocre. I think he's good for a starter pack character for the same reason Spyro was. He's simple, he's easy to use, and he can be powerful at times. But I feel like that's where the good things really end. When I'm playing Trap Team, Snapshot is never the first one I want to pick up. In fact, he's not normally the second or the third either. He's just so, like, he feels uninspired compared to some of the other characters. And I feel like as for gameplay wise, yeah, he's okay for a start pack character, but like, just like design and I don't know, I think he's a bit of a weaker one, to be honest. And so Trap Team not off to a great start with Snapshot, but maybe it'll get better. Oh. Yeah, so never mind, maybe it won't get better for Trap Team. Food Fight is, again, really not the first one I'll pick up when I'm going to play Trap Team. In fact, he's probably one of the last. I don't like his gameplay style. His design is wacky, but not like cool or anything. He's not cool, he's not like, you know, I mean, I suppose he's a bit goofy, but like, he's not one of like the ones that I think of. If I think of Skylanders, he's not a design that sticks out to me immediately, which as a starter pack character, something that I think is quite rough. I also feel like he just doesn't perform very well. Like, damage wise, he's not great. I mean, the soul gem of the tomato is pretty iconic, I guess, where you stand on top of it and run around. But like, that's like the only thing I think of when I think of Food Fight, is that soul gem. And it's not even that good, like, actual gameplay wise. So I feel like Food Fight really sort of misses the score, which is unfortunate. But oh well, what can you do? Now, as for Trap Team, I think it's pretty obvious by now, it's my least favourite starter pack. And this one kind of hurts, because Trap Team for me is another hot take these days, but I think Trap Team is one of my favourite Skylanders games. And so the fact that the starter pack really missed is kind of an L. I mean, Snapshot, He's simple to play, and he's iconic, I guess. So I suppose he hits that mark there as far as starter pack should go. But he's just uninspiring. The moment you get another Trapmaster, as long as it's not Head Rush, you lose all interest to play Snapshot. And the same goes for Food Fight. He's not inspiring. You don't look at Food Fight on the shelf and go, I want to play as that guy. You know, you play as him to begin with when you first get him. And then you never touch him again. Because there's just better characters who are more fun to play. The only thing Food Fight's got going for him is the funny tomato, which is only funny for about 15 minutes. I think I can see what they were trying, but I just don't think it was executed properly. Now, on to our next game. Of course, we've got Superchargers. And Spitfire specifically hard carries the Supercharger starter pack. This guy is busted OP. If you use him properly, you won't be able to see what's going on your screen, and no one will have any idea what's going on the screen, because he's just everywhere at the same time and everything dies. In this gameplay example is probably quite a weak gameplay example, because as of all of these clips, this is my first time hopping on the game a fair while, and I hadn't practiced any of these characters beforehand. But if you just sit down for one day and play a Spitfire for a day, by the end of the day you will realise that you don't take damage, because you just get you get in the rhythm of him. He's such a good character to play, and he feels so satisfying as well when you finally get it down. And he's just so OP. Not to mention his design is really cool, and he's a hell of a lot of fun. Now you see, when recording, I wasn't looking forward to playing Supershot Stealth Elf. I remember her being terrible, especially in comparison to the regular Stealth Elf, but I very quickly found out. Apparently I never even maxed out Supershot Stealth Elf, so I guess I can't really give a fair judgment. But from this small bit that I did play just now, she wasn't as bad as I remember. And however much I really don't like saying that, because I've always said that Supershot Stealth Elf is one of the worst characters in the franchise, but apparently I just never gave her a fair chance, although I thought I had done, because I remembered maxing her out, but apparently I never did. And I will agree, the damage still is not there, right? She still doesn't quite hit the mark in that category. But as for Stealth Elf doing Stealth Elf things, you know, the teleport's still there. There's still a melee move, which albeit is weaker than regular Stealth Elf, it's still not a bad melee move. I still struggle with aiming the gun a bit, but it might be a bit of a skill issue, and I feel like once maxed out, she's probably not that bad. Is she the best? Probably not. Is she terrible? Sort of, but not really. Not the worst, not the best. So we'll go with that. Now this is going to be very hard to decide. Nah, not really, I'm just kidding. Spitfire is stupidly OP. Now, this leaves us with just Skylanders Imaginators. Now, if you were just talking raw character strength wise, this would have been at number 1, 100%. Because they're senseis. The senseis are busted OP compared to any other character type except from the Imaginators. And, I mean, they just do so much damage. I think their movesets are quite clean, they all work quite well. But the problem is that they're not super recognizable because they were the last game. Kingpen, I think, to be fair, I think he's quite good actually. As for senseis, he's not one of the last ones I'll pick up. I'll pick him up relatively early on if I'm playing some Imaginators, which is good. That's how a starter pack character should be, I think. They shouldn't be the first one you pick up, because obviously why would you ever buy more if they were, but they shouldn't be the last one either. And I think that Kingpen is a great example of that. He's well balanced, well, relatively speaking. The Sky Chi is alright, it's not the best Sky Chi in the game, it's not the worst. And so yeah, I think Kingpen is quite reasonably balanced, but he's nothing too special really, I don't think. The main trouble that I have with the Imaginators starter pack is Golden Queen. Now, Golden Queen has grown a lot on me these past 2 years. Not when I'm playing single player. If I'm playing by myself, I think she sucks. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like her very much. I think her attacks are definitely more focused towards co-op. If you're playing co-op and you get into a fight area, especially at the abandoned amusement park where you've got all the rats in a small area and on nightmare mode where they do a hell of a lot of damage, if you get your player 2 or your player 1 to sit in the middle of the arena and just spam the hell out of the secondary and freeze all the enemies, you don't take any damage, you win the fight easy peasy. But if you're playing as Golden Queen in single player, it's a bit more hit and miss. Like, she can be good in some places, in other places she is just a giant target of death and destruction and you just die immediately. So I think Golden Queen is very mixed, especially on single player. She's okay at best, but on co-op she's busted OP. And so I think it's fair to have Imaginators where I put it in the list. Maybe I'll bring it a little bit higher even, but I've ranked the rest of it now. No point changing it. So yeah, I'd say Imaginators is quite a strong starter pack overall, to be fair. But again, it was the last game, so I feel like the characters aren't quite as iconic. I think having a returning villain in the starter pack was also a bit of a bad move. Like, you know, I think they should have had 2 original characters. But then again, Stealth Elf was in the other one, stuff, Series 2 Cinder. But yeah, I think it's okay where it is. And so this is the list we conclude with. I think overall they're quite fair. If I had to redo it, I'd probably move Imaginators up and swap it with Swap Force, but other than that, I'd leave it be. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And that was my personal opinion. Leave your personal tier list down below and give me the reasons why, because I'd love to hear about it. And subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.